He offered blessing money if his girlfriend could be mother of the groom. I exposed their fake programs, blocked the mic, and chose my own aisle. My dad showed up after years of silence with a woman who looked closer to my age than his and said he'd make things right if I let her stand where my mom was supposed to stand. Not as a guest, as mother of the groom. He called it a blessing and slid an envelope across my kitchen table like it was proof of love. The woman, Ava, kept her smile steady and said she could deliver a family message during the toast, the kind that would heal old wounds. She'd never met my mom. I told him my uncle would walk me down the aisle because he earned it one ride to practice at a time, not with an envelope. Dad laughed like I'd mixed up a small detail and said the offer only worked if Ava took Mom's seat up front and read a note from the family. That word did a cold thing to the room. Family doesn't come in a fresh manicure and a script that he tried another angle. Said people would whisper if Mom sat alone. He said Ava could shield the day and help us turn the page. I looked at the envelope and thought about every page Mom turned by herself when he left. I pushed the envelope back without touching it. "We're not selling the aisle," I said. The smile on his face cracked like glass you try to bend. He stood, patted my shoulder like a manager wrapping a meeting, and said if I wouldn't accept the blessing, the family would understand why they couldn't come. Ava touched his sleeve and told me she hoped I'd choose peace. I watched them leave, with their blessing still in the envelope and my kitchen finally breathing again. I picked up our ceremony program from the counter and crossed out one line with a pen that doesn't smear. Parents' blessing. Under it, I wrote circle of care and put Mom's name beside my uncle's. No speeches, just the people who show up. By morning, my phone was buzzing with forwarded messages. My dad had blasted the family list with a story where I banned my mother, refused a blessing, and chose bitterness. He attached a photo of Ava in a white suit at a hotel lobby and called her a stabilizing presence. No mention of my actual mom, who was at her night shift folding laundry, so my tux would be ready. I didn't argue in the thread. I changed the day. I met our coordinator at the venue, crossed out parents' blessing on the printed program, and slid in circle of care with Mom and Uncle David named. No open mic. No family message. If love showed up, it would do it with hands, not a speech. Rehearsal started soft. Uncle David counted steps like a metronome. Mom watched from the first row, eyes bright and quiet. Halfway through the walk, the side door clicked. My dad came in with Ava on his arm, both of them dressed like a press release. He didn't look at me first. He went straight to the coordinator and spoke in that low, managerial tone that turns favors into facts. "Small adjustment," he said. "Ava will take mother of the groom in the program. She'll join the aisle at the halfway point and deliver a brief note at the end of vows." He handed over a folded page like it was already approved. The coordinator glanced at me. I shook my head once. She handed the page back and said, "Not in the plan." Dad tried a second door. He walked up to the band leader with his wallet half out and asked where to plug in a handheld mic for family remarks. The band leader, bless him, tilted his head at me like a compass needle and said, "You'd have to clear that with the groom." Dad looked over, surprised to find the groom was a person and not a prop. Ava stayed on script. She smiled at Mom and said she hoped there was room to share the stage, because sisters in life can be sisters at the altar. Mom blinked, then turned back to the aisle and whispered the steps with Uncle David as if rehearsal were a shield. Dad tried one more play. He asked the venue manager to add Ava to the first row seating chart and gave a fake nod toward me like we'd spoken. The manager didn't move. "I need the couple's initials on any change," she said. "Ink, not a wink." I walked over and kept my voice even. "There's no mother to replace," I said. "There's my mom in that seat and my uncle on my arm." Dad's mouth went tight. "People will talk," he said. "They'll see who stood where." I said. He looked past me at the program stack and reached as if paper could be persuaded. I laid my hand on the top copy, and he stopped. Ava touched his sleeve again and said, "Let's not make a scene." The only scene was the one they'd rehearsed without me. They left through the side door. The room breathed. The coordinator gave me a look that said she'd hold the line. The band ran the processional once more, and Uncle David nailed the turn that had given him trouble all week. Mom's shoulders dropped a little. That was the only blessing I needed. After rehearsal, a server brought me an envelope with my name in my father's handwriting. Inside was a contribution card and a note. This covers the band if you let Ava speak. Family first. I slid it into a folder I keep for things that don't get to run the day and wrote a word on the flap. No, we locked the seating chart with a paperclip and put the programs in a box with my initials across the lid. The manager taped a sign by the side door. Vendors and wedding party only. Ava had said she could deliver a family message. She was right about one thing. A message was coming. It just wouldn't be hers. They showed up before the florist finished the last centerpiece. My dad in a suit that said important guest. Ava in that same white suit from the lobby photo, smile set to invited. He didn't head for me. He drifted to the photographer and asked if they could grab a few family portraits before the crowd. As if arrivals create permissions, the photographer glanced toward me. I shook my head. We're holding portraits after the ceremony, she told them. Per the couple. Dad's face did that tight, polite thing people do when a door doesn't open just because their hand is on it. I walked the room one more time, touching chairs like light switches. Mom, front left. Uncle David, aisle. Coach Martinez, 2 rows back. Our circle of care sat where love can do its job without a microphone. The coordinator kept her headset on and her eyes everywhere. She'd already taped over the spare mic switch. No surprises, no, just a quick word. Dad changed tactics. He approached the band while Ava circled the first row, counting seats with her eyes. 10 seconds, he told the bandleader. Just 10, for peace. The bandleader nodded toward me again. Dad came over holding an envelope like a helpful prop. 10 seconds, he said. I say family. We say healing. Everyone claps. We're all adults. He said adults like it meant I was obligated to let him make a mess politely. 10 seconds, I said, with no props. I held his eyes until he looked down at the envelope. He tucked it inside his jacket and smiled like we'd made a deal. The processional lined up. Uncle David rolled his shoulders, whispered the count under his breath, and grinned at Mom like she was a lighthouse. When the doors opened, the room gathered itself. Side door stayed shut. No sneak-in portraits. Just faces I recognized and a path I chose. That we hit the halfway mark, and the aisle felt like a story turning toward its ending. That's when my dad stepped out from the end of a row, not into the aisle, just close enough to be a question. He lifted his hand like he was raising a glass, and the band, pros that they are, swelled the next chord so cleanly it left no room for words. After the vows, before the recessional, my dad moved fast. He stood, turned to the crowd, and called out, just 10 seconds. His hand went to his jacket where the envelope lived. The coordinator was faster. She stepped in front of the spare mic stand like a goalie, shook her head once, and pointed at the sign taped under the speaker. No family remarks. The band leader lifted his chin. The drummer hit a light roll. Grandma June, who had no headset, just authority, started clapping. People followed her, not him. The noise rose warm and tall, filling the space where a speech wanted to land. My dad's arm fell. For a breath, I saw him without the math. A man used to managing rooms that didn't belong to him. Ava touched his sleeve and pasted on a supportive smile, but her eyes were counting again, looking for another entry point. That we recessed to the back garden. Sun through leaves, the first real breath of the day. Mom reached us with Uncle David, and we did what we planned. Hands stacked, a quiet you did it. Nothing to prove to a microphone. Photo started. Dad drifted toward the edge of a portrait, and the photographer stepped slightly to block him without making it a scene. We'll get you after family, she said, and went right on shooting family. When the reception opened, Dad found me at the edge of the dance floor with the envelope back in his hand. He kept it low, like contraband. Last chance, he said. 10 seconds. Then this covers the band. I took the envelope and didn't look inside. I walked it to the coordinator and asked her to put it with vendor mail to be returned. If it's a blessing, it doesn't need a memo line, I said. She smiled with her eyes and tucked it into a tray labeled outgoing.at first dance. The room was loud with the right kind of noise. You can feel when a crowd is here for you, not for a show. During cake, Dad hovered 2 tables away, waiting for a gap to make a moment. The gap never came. Not because we built a wall, because we finally built a day. Later, I found Mom by the photo board, looking at a picture of me and Uncle David from middle school, both in crooked ties. She touched the corner and said without speaking, "We did this. We did it without permission slips. That should have been the end of it. But 10 seconds wants more when it's hungry." During the last song, The venue manager caught my eye and nodded toward the loading dock. "They're trying backstage," she said quietly. "Envelope out, mic request." I said no. I stepped outside, into the kind of night that keeps the sky to itself. Dad and Ava were by the service door, the envelope open now, bills peeking like teeth. He saw me and started the sentence he'd been rehearsing all day. "If you just don't," I said. "No more doors." He closed the envelope, finally seeing that it didn't unlock anything here. Inside, the band slid into the last chorus. Uncle David clapped on the wrong beat. Mom laughed into her sleeve. The room held 10 seconds had spent itself. If we still had the rest, by morning. My inbox looked like a press conference I didn't call. My dad had sent a long letter to the family list. I blocked a sacred moment. Humiliated a guest. Refused reconciliation. He promised to cover the reception. If I would post a note saying I overreacted and should have let Ava speak for healing. He attached the envelope photo like it was proof of heaven. I didn't argue every line. I sent one paragraph I could live with a year from now. "We don't sell moments." No one was barred from blessing us. We just didn't hand out microphones. If you want to support us, show up without conditions. If you need a statement, use this one. Then I walked to the post office and put his envelope in the outgoing bin with a sticky note on the flap. "Return to sender. Blessings don't need cash." I thought that would quiet the day. Instead, my cousin sent a video with no caption. A hotel ballroom. A different couple. Same white suit. Ava took the mic and launched into a performance about new beginnings, weaving in the groom's company name and a pitch for a partnership. At the end, a man off camera pressed a payment into her hand. I knew the voice thanking her. It was my dad. I watched it twice, not for drama, for pattern. The cadence matched her smile from rehearsal. The pitch matched the envelope by the service door. This wasn't a one-time message. It was a gig, a role she plays for a fee while my dad plays producer. I saved the clip in a folder called "What Actually Happened." Then I wrote one quiet reply to the family thread. For anyone confused, here is a public example of the blessing that was offered to us. We chose our own words. I pasted the link. No commentary. No arrows. Let people see. Within minutes, Grandma June replied with 12 words that felt like furniture being set back where it belongs. "Blessings are free. Speeches for sale are commercials. Hush or come Sunday." Aunts went silent. The cousins who love a show found other tabs to click. My dad texted. "This is unkind." I answered, "It's true." That afternoon, I set our program on the coffee table and put a lemon magnet from Grandma on top. Circle of Care wasn't a slogan. It was the work. Mom brought leftover flowers and didn't say a word about the thread. Uncle David fixed the loose leg on our chair and left a quarter on the windowsill for luck. Because that's his kind of sermon, the room felt like it had a spine again. I thought that was the end of the day's surprises. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number, short message. "Ava has a calendar. Yours isn't the only aisle." I stared at the screen until the letters stopped moving. Some truths don't need more than a sentence to change shape. If Dad had a show. I finally knew the director's notes that I wasn't an audience, that I wasn't a staged, I was the door. That I met my dad at a diner at noon, so the truth couldn't hide. No dim lights, no music to lean on, just windows and a table that didn't care who was right. I set my phone down with Ava's ballroom video paused on her first line. He reached for the menu like we were going to talk about sandwiches. I hit play. The clip ran clean. The scripted blessing, the brand name drop, the cash pressed into her hand. His voice off camera saying thank you like a stage manager wrapping a set. When it ended, I didn't add a speech. I slid the phone across and let the silence do the math. He tried the soft route first. Said I was reading too much into it. Said Ava just knows how to hold a room. Then he switched to the pragmatic pitch. Weddings are full of noise. A polished message keeps things smooth. Everyone wins. He spoke like a man who orders feelings in bulk. I told him I don't hire strangers to pretend to be my mother for 10 lines. I told him I'm done returning envelopes. I told him the only way in is as a guest with no role. He smiled like he'd practiced it, then pulled something from his briefcase and laid it between the salt and the sugar. IT wasn't cashed, IT was a contract. Plain paper, tidy paragraphs, my name in the caption. Family remarks agreement, it said. Ava listed as speaker. A clause about time guaranteed near the altar. A clause about honorarium remitted post-delivery. A blank line for my signature. He tapped the page with 2 fingers. This ends the debate, he said. You sign, she speaks, we pay the band, the story moves on. Peace is simple when you treat it like logistics. I read each line once, not looking for traps, just seeing what he was asking me to be. Not a son, a client, not a family. A show that I slid the contract back and said, only role I'm signing is guest. I wrote it on a napkin so he'd have something to take home. Come without conditions. Sit where we put you. No mic. He stared at the napkin like it was an insult. It was a map that he tried one last angle. The whisper that used to work when I was a kid. People will talk, he said. You'll look ungrateful. He lifted his coffee cup like a toast at a funeral. Let them talk, I said. They can watch a room where no one is for sale. He packed the contract away as if paper could make the world rewind. At the door he said, Ava's only trying to help. I didn't follow him into that sentence. I paid my side, left the tip in cash, and walked into daylight with the video in my pocket and no signatures in my name. Back home, I put a fresh card on our fridge under Grandma's lemon magnet. Circle of care, no substitutes. Mom dropped off a bundle of ribbon she'd saved from old birthdays and tied it around our program box like a promise that doesn't need a mic. Uncle David fixed another wobbly chair and whistled out of tune. The house made sense again. Evening brought the predictable aftershock. A family thread from Dad about disrespect at lunch and my refusal to compromise. I posted a reply I could live with. We're married. Guests are welcome. Performances are not. Then I muted the thread and turned my phone face down. 10 minutes later, a text from an unknown number slid through anyway. No greeting, just a request. A quick run-through before Saturday. I can tailor the blessing to your story. Ava Taylor. Blessing. Story. I took a screenshot and saved it in a folder named What Actually Happened. Then I blocked the number and wrote 3 words on a sticky for my own kitchen table. No hired loved. I slept easy for the first time in a week, until morning. When my inbox chimed with a calendar invite I didn't expect. Rehearsal. Family moment. Organizer. Ava. Location. The venue. The invite showed my dad already marked going. She wasn't done, but neither was daylight. That I drove to the venue with one goal, erase the side door. The coordinator met me at the entrance with her clipboard and a look that said she'd seen this movie. I showed her the calendar invite from Ava. She snorted, then walked me to the sound booth and peeled a strip of tape off a fresh label. No family remarks. She stuck it over the AUX port like a seal. We looped in the band and photographer. I said it once clean. No surprise speeches. No last-minute portraits that rewrite the front row. The bandleader pointed to his set list. No gaps. The photographer wrote after ceremony. Immediate family only on her own copy, and underlined Mom plus Uncle David. Everyone heard me. Everyone nodded. Rooms get safe when the people with switches keep their hands steady. Back at the coordinator's desk, an email blinked in from the venue manager. Subject: adjustment request, family moment. My dad had wired a deposit labeled stage time and asked the venue to hold 3 minutes for the family presentation. The message ended with a neat threat. If the agreement was broken, he expected the deposit returned and a note for the record. There was no agreement. Just a man trying to manufacture one with a wire and a subject line. The manager looked up. Do you want that money in your account? No, I said. I want the day without invoices pretending to be love. She forwarded my answer to billing and wrote a sentence I wanted to frame. Return funds to sender. No performance slots exist. Then, like it was no big deal, she added a note to our file. Client declines all third-party remarks. Paper that tells the truth is a doorstop. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Dad, I'm not asking for much, he said. Just a family moment. The deposit was a sign of good faith. Return it, I said. Good faith doesn't need a receipt. He sighed like I'd knocked something precious off a shelf. You're making this hard. It's only hard if you're trying to sell it. I said. He hung up without a goodbye, which is a goodbye by another name. That I walked the room one more time. The walkway. The first row. The mic that wouldn't wake up without a passcode only the bandleader knew. The coordinator printed a fresh run of show with circle of care in bold and handed me the top copy. It felt like a spine. Outside, the wind picked up and dropped with that moody way venues get before the doors open. I sat in my car and typed a message I could live with on a bad day. Guests are welcome. No one is for hire. If you love us, clap. If you don't, eat cake. I didn't send it. I didn't need to. The people who needed it had already heard me with their eyes. At home. Mom ironed her dress at our kitchen counter like a person finishing a promise. Uncle David tested the zipper on his jacket twice and pretended not to be nervous. I taped our Circle of Care card to the fridge under Grandma's lemon magnet and breathed like rooms do when the faucet stops leaking. Evening brought what I expected, Ava again. First a text I didn't open, then a voicemail I didn't play, then a new calendar invite, final blessing, declined by me, declined by the coordinator, and then, finally, canceled by the venue with a note, unauthorized event. Removed. The last ping of the night came from billing. Wire returned to sender. No drama. No speech. Just a line in a ledger that remembered who owned the stage that I slept. And in the morning, I woke up to a different kind of knock. Not at my door at AT Mom's. Ava didn't knock like a guest. She posed like a delivery, half smile, chin high, cardboard box hugged to her ribs as if generosity had weight. My mother opened the door in her ironing shirt, steam still curling from the board behind her. Ava said she brought an olive branch and held out the box the way people hold a cat they don't trust. Inside, a neat stack of programs wrapped with twine. Not ours. These had a soft gray cover and my name in a fancier font I never chose. I didn't need to flip far. Page 2 read Mother of the Groom, Ava Hale. My mom's name was 3 lines down under special thanks, like an afterthought stapled to a staged MY phone buzzed. Mom said nothing. She doesn't say much to people who rent respect by the hour. I was there in 8 minutes. Ava was still on the step, still smiling, already explaining that she'd covered printing because these things slipped through the cracks. She said if we swapped them in, it would smooth the day, and if it felt too sudden, she'd accept 5 seconds before guests enter. She had a way of stacking options that sound like kindness and land like rules. I didn't argue language. I took one of her programs in one hand and our program in the other and set them on the hall table where the light is honest. Her version had gloss, a lineup that moved my mother out of the first row, and a family blessing block with Ava Hale centered like a contract fulfilled. Ours had Circle of Care in plain font, Mom and Uncle David on the front row, and white space where love goes when it doesn't need a microphone. Ava tried to sell the fix. People need cues, she said. It avoids awkwardness. She gestured at my mother's living room like it was a set under construction. Mom lifted the corner of our program with 2 fingers and said, very softly, I don't need directions to sit with my son. I opened the box wider. Beneath the stack was a note in my father's hand. Use these. We'll handle the rest. No, please. Use. The word that tells you the plan doesn't include you. I pulled out my phone, set it on the table, and hit record. Not for the internet, for daylight. 2 programs side by side. 2 names in the same slot. I said one sentence to the camera I could live with in a year. This is ours. That is not. Ava's smile thinned. You're making this bigger than it is. It's as big as the seat you're trying to sit in, I said. She pivoted to urgency. The printers were lined up. The band had a cue. The coordinator would work with us if we didn't spring it on her. I texted the coordinator a photo. The 3 dots pulsed. Then her reply came back bright and blunt. Unauthorized material. Do not use. Bring it to me. Ava reached into the box as if authority might be hiding under the last copy. My mother stepped forward, took the twine off the stack with calm hands, and began sliding their programs back into the box face down, one by one, like returning dishes to a cabinet we do not own. Uncle David arrived mid-stack, saw the table, didn't ask questions, and started a trash bag with the absent-minded competence of a man who has fixed more than chairs. Fine, Ava said finally. Then just 5 seconds at the doors. I'll say I'm speaking for the mothers. No one will know the difference. My mother is right here, I said. You will not speak for anyone. She looked past me at Mom, then changed her target. Your father will be humiliated. Not by a program, I said. Her last card was the whisper. People will talk, she said. They'll see who stood where. I answered, same tone I'd used at the venue. And who tried to stand there with a box. I sealed the flaps, wrote return to sender with a marker that doesn't smear, and handed the whole thing back. Ava didn't take it. She set it on the railing like she was leaving a gift on a doorstep and hoping a camera would miss the note. Mom lifted the box and put it inside, not to keep it, to make sure we decided how it left that I carried it to the car. Uncle David grabbed the trash bag. Mom smoothed the corner of our real program like you smooth a bed you're about to sleep in. At the venue, I set the box on the coordinator's desk. She took one look and said, "I'll shred them and email your dad a receipt labeled unauthorized materials destroyed." She meant it like a hug. When I came back to Mom's, the ironing board was still warm. She picked up the next sleeve of her dress like a person finishing what they started. Ava had left a final text on my phone. 10 seconds before the processional. Please reconsider. I blocked the number and saved a screenshot to a folder named What Actually Happened. At dusk, Dad sent a group message. We'll forgive the mix-up and still offer a family moment if the programs are corrected. He used we like a lever. I replied with a photo of the Circle of Care page and nothing else. Sometimes the loudest answer is the right name in the right place. The night before the wedding, I taped one more card to the fridge under Grandma's lemon magnet. No hired love. No borrowed mothers. No side doors. The kitchen breathed. Tomorrow, the aisle would. 2. Morning light made the venue look honest. Scuffed floors. Chairs waiting. The smell of flowers that didn't care about anyone's plans. Mom arrived in a dress she'd altered herself. Hands steady. Eyes bright. Uncle David rolled his shoulders and tapped the beat we practiced into his palm like a metronome only he could hear. The Circle of Care page sat on the welcome table where mouths can't edit ink. Out in the lot, my dad and Ava tried one more angle. Not the main doors. The service entrance by the loading dock. They came with a single sheet this time, folded neat. Just the words, Dad said to the coordinator, as if the problem had been paper thickness. Security didn't argue. They pointed to the sign that had lived there for years, vendors only. The coordinator added the part the sign couldn't say out loud. You are guests. Guests use the front. Ava held up the page like a passport. It's an olive branch, she said, softer now, eyes shiny, voice pitched for sympathy. The coordinator didn't raise hers. Olive branches don't jump the line, she said. Security closed the door with the kind of firmness that makes a day breathe. Inside, the band warmed their hands on the first chord. The photographer straightened the program stack so the Circle of Care line faced up like a rule. Mom took her seat in the front row without looking left or right. Uncle David came to my side and set his elbow for mine like we'd done in the living room. Two people in a simple shape the world recognizes. The doors opened. The aisle found its length. Feet remembered their job. Halfway down, silence arrived. The good kind. The kind where you can hear fabric move. That's when my father stood that he didn't speak. He didn't need to for the room to feel the raise of his chin and the tilt of his shoulders. He held the folded sheet at his side like a switchblade he promised not to open. For a heartbeat the air leaned his way. Then the room made its own choice. From the front row, Mom stood up. No drama, just height, and placed her hand over her heart. Grandma June followed with a smile that could quiet a fire. Coach Martinez started a clap that wasn't loud, just certain. People rose not to look at him, but to look at her. The band slid into a soft swell, the kind that replaces words with warmth. The folded page in his hand became only paper in the face of that much gravity. He sat down. We walked on to the altar. The vows fit in our mouths the way clothes fit after a tailor finally listens. When the time came for blessings, the officiant didn't reach for a mic. He turned toward the first row. Mom nodded once. No speech. And the nod landed heavier than any monologue ever could. During the recessional, I caught sight of my dad by the aisle end. The folded sheet now creased from being held too tight. Ava kept her smile in place, but had nothing to do with it. Security watched the side door and didn't have to move. The coordinator watched the band and didn't have to tape anything else. Our day was a room that had learned its exits. Out in the garden, the light fell just right on faces that had come to be here, not star here. The photographer pulled me, Mom, and Uncle David into the first portrait. No substitute, no swap. The shutter clicked, a sound like a period. Later, at the edge of the dance floor, Dad approached with the folded sheet still in his hand. He looked at me, looked at Mom, and opened his mouth. The bandleader lifted 2 fingers and brought up a song we'd chosen for the exact length of a temptation. Dad closed his mouth. Ava squeezed his arm. They stepped back. Some blessings are 10 words and a hand on a shoulder. Some attempts are paper you don't pass forward that we danced. The room held. The side door stayed a door. The morning after, my father sent a carefully worded email calling the night bittersweet. He offered to reimburse the band if I posted that I'd misunderstood the blessing plan and that Ava had been invited in spirit. Attached was a photo of the folded page from the service door, like proof that paper can make meaning retroactive. I didn't reply. I opened a new folder on our coffee table and named it What Actually Happened. Into it went the shredded fake program's receipt from the coordinator, the venue's note returning his stage time wire, and a still from Ava's earlier ballroom performance. Cash in hand, smile perfectly practiced. I wasn't building a case. I was building a room that doesn't argue with itself. By noon, a cousin forwarded me a group chat where Dad wrote that I'd shut out family and publicly embarrassed a guest. Before the thread could turn into a chorus, I posted one short message. Guests are welcome. Performances are not. We chose our own words, and they fit. No lecture, no link. Just the boundary that carried last night. An hour later, Dad showed up at my building's lobby holding a bakery box like peace could be frosted. He asked the desk to call me down for a minute. I took the elevator because minutes can be useful. He lifted the lid. Cupcakes arranged to spell family in icing. We can fix this with a statement, he said. Ava worked hard on that blessing. She works hard at many weddings, I said, and let the sentence sit. His eyes flickered. He knew that I knew. I did this for you, he tried. You did it for a show, I said. I got married. He set the box on the counter like a dare. I closed it and handed it back. Gifts that require a caption aren't gifts. He started to argue the old way. Soft voice, big promises, but the desk phone rang. The lobby door swished, and real life moved around us. Uninterested, back upstairs, I called Mom and Uncle David for coffee. No speeches, just the people who showed up again. We looked at the What Actually Happened folder. Then we put it on the shelf next to the cookbooks where important things live without demanding the center of the room. That evening, an unknown number texted, "You made me the villain." Hey, I typed and deleted 3 drafts. Then I settled on the only truth that wouldn't wobble later. You auditioned for my mother's seat. No one gets that role. I blocked the number and let silence do the rest. Before bed, I wrote one more card for the fridge under Grandma's lemon magnet. Guests come through the front. Love doesn't need a mic. No hired blessings. The kitchen felt like itself again. The day didn't end in a fight. It ended in a house that knew who was allowed to knock. I asked him to meet me in daylight. No envelopes, no side doors. He arrived with empty hands for the first time all year and looked smaller without a prop to hold. We sat by a window where even silence has edges. I'll say it once, I began. There's only one way you belong here, as a guest. No roles, no cash, no microphones. You come through the front door, you sit where we put you, you clap when love happens. Or you take visiting hours like everyone who can't stop trying to direct the room. He started to bargain on instinct. 10 seconds. Make it right. People will talk. I let the words run out of gas. Then I set the What Actually Happened folder on the table and lifted the cover an inch. The returned wire, the shredded fake program's receipt, the ballroom clip freeze-framed on the cash in Ava's hand. Paper didn't glare. It just told the truth that he looked at it too long, then away, then back. I don't know how to be here without doing something, he said, and it was the truest sentence he'd offered me in years. Try being, I said. It's less work. He nodded once, slow. The room didn't cheer. It just got quieter in a way that felt like choosing oxygen. He reached for the folder, then stopped. Keep it, he said. You're going to need less of me on paper. We stood. No hug, no speech. At the door he asked, almost shy, if I come Sunday. Front door. Front door, I said. Empty hands. He left with nothing to carry. I closed the folder, slid it behind the cookbooks, and wrote 3 lines for our fridge under Grandma's lemon magnet. Our whole story in small print. Guests, not performers. Front door, not side. Love, not logistics. Mom came by that evening with leftover flowers and a tired smile. Uncle David fixed the loose hinge on our closet and whistled off-key. We ate cake on plates that don't match. No one auditioned for anyone's seat. Before bed, I tucked the spare key back on the hook inside the door. That's where it belongs. That's where all of this belongs now. Inside, where microphones can't reach and envelopes don't decide anything, that we didn't win an argument, that we kept our aisle. And finally, the house felt like ours. Thank you for watching this story on True Tales Hub. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our next story that we post new tales twice a day, and each one comes with unexpected twists you won't see coming.